All right, it is 5 o'clock, so I will welcome everybody as we convene the regular Board of Education meeting for February 23rd in 2021. And with our opening tonight, I would like to ask Member Caudill, Clerk Caudill, if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, Paulette?
I'm ready. Do I ask you to stand?
We're all going to mute ourselves. It's on you now.
Okay. Hand over my heart. And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job.
Great. Thank you very much for that. We did not take any action in closed session, so I have nothing further to report out on that. Now in our agenda hearing period, we do have 2 items of public communication that I will read to you. So if you'll give me a moment, I'd like to retrieve them. Please know that I will read them verbatim, and they are also posted on the link in our agenda documents posting. Okay. The first email. A question for tomorrow. Why would you not all grades back in? Makes no sense. Not just K through 6, but all grades and 12th. Also, are all Esusd teachers going to be in line Monday for their vaccinations so they can't come up with more excuses to not show up to their job? I'm CCing the ESTA as well. They don't reply to any email, just more excuses for the teachers. The CDC says it is okay for teachers to be in class without vaccinations. Quit making up excuses. Who is going to my child's therapy? The teachers union for not wanting to do their job in person? I have many other parents asking who is paying for their child's therapy. Mrs. Moore, I know you will reply, but the ESTA is a joke. All the best, Pat Harris. And now our second communication. Below are my comments I would like read during the board meeting tonight. As a resident of El Segundo for the past 10 years and a father of children who have been in the El Segundo school system the past 9 years, I am embarrassed for how ESUSD and ESTA have treated the children of our community this past year. During the initial onslaught of COVID-19, it was understandable why there was remote learning and the need for it. No one really understands COVID-19, and those unanswered questions seem to make sense into why our children were thrust into online schooling and staring at a computer screen all day. However, as more and more information came out about COVID-19 and who was at risk, it became clearly apparent that there was no real risk for our children not to go back to in-class learning. There has yet to be any true scientific data that points to an elevated risk for children or teachers and in-class teaching. With that being said, ESUSD has shown no backbone to the teachers union in regards to getting teachers back in the classroom, nor any backbone to LACO, LA County Health Department, or the State Health Department for fighting for our children in El Segundo to get back to in-class learning. ESUSD and ESTA should be ashamed of themselves. I am ashamed for ESUSD and ESTA. My wife and I have recently pulled our children out of ESUSD and have moved them to another state where the school district truly values children's education and not cowers in fear from the local teachers union. I feel fortunate that my wife and I have the means to take this proactive approach, but my heart sinks for the families that do not have the means and forced to continue to suffer at the hands of ESUSD and ESTA. I am hopeful that I can bring my children back here to El Segundo to continue their education in the fall semester, but to do so, it is going to take true leadership from ESUSD and people sticking their necks out to get it done. We will see. Truly frustrated, Steve Taylor, resident of El Segundo. All right, And that concludes our public communications for this evening. Okay, we're going to move into special presentations at this time. And I'm going to look, I do not see Benjamin Villa here, but I do know. Oh, what? He's there. Oh, hello. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Welcome, Benny. Awesome,
Thank
awesome. Okay, it's your turn, so I will mute myself and give you the floor.
Okay, thank you so much. So to begin, within these past 2 weeks, we were looking at a possible return to sports pods. It's increasingly seeming inevitable. Our senior pods activity will hopefully start on March 8th. Our next trivia night is confirmed to be on March 18th at 7 p.m. held on Twitch. We are gathering in ASB pods for seniors in person. And we've really focused on the physical aspect of the campus for our students, i.e. bulletin boards, signs, etc., which will allow us to make the school more welcoming once they return. And finally, as it was Black History Month, we continue to support and recognize Black triumphs and accomplishments through classroom lessons in our weekly video announcements. That is all.
Great, thank you, Benny. Appreciate your report as always. Next on our list of distinguished guests, we have Frank Glynn, chair of the El Segundo Ed Foundation. Ooh, that sounded like an announcement of like some royal something. So welcome, Frank.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I've got a quick report from the Ed Foundation. Earlier this month, we received a check from the Skechers Friendship Foundation for $80,000. And a big thank you and congratulations to everyone who participated in the Friendship Walk in the fall, helping to raise funds for the foundation. This week, we received a check from Ike's Love and Sandwiches on PCH. Ike's was thrilled with the response to the fundraiser, and they tell us that their business is off to a great start, exceeding their expectations. Thank you to everyone who supported the grand opening event. And just a note there, I hope that everybody supports the people that support, the businesses that support our school district. Coming in the next week, you will have the opportunity to participate in the Ed Foundation March Madness Pool. This fundraiser is replacing Dad's Night Out. So we hope that all the dads in town will participate. We had a mini pool for the Super Bowl and raised $3,000, so we have high hopes for March Madness. We are currently in the midst of our spring drive. If you haven't had the chance to donate to Ed in this school year, now is a great time because we have matching grants from Continental Development and realtors Matt Krabs and Bill Ruane. Your donation of $100 or more will be triple matched from now until Saturday. So only a few days left. Finally, to report that preparations are underway to bring the Ed Academy summer school classes in person and online, and details for that will be shared soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. Glad to have you here. And I will say our family did enjoy their Ike sandwiches 2 weeks ago. I was pleased to also not have to be responsible for dinner that night. So
all right.
Two wins right there. Three
Absolutely.
wins, really. So thank you. All right. Thank you so much. And we appreciate you guys, as always, all the hard work you're still doing right now. Okay, our next presentation tonight is a student recognition from the El Segundo Middle School. And Ms. Davis is here, I believe, to take over this presentation.
Yes, I'd like to invite Allison Davis and Liam Belson to join us. Ms. Davis is our instrumental music teacher who serves both the middle school and high school. And in this extremely challenging time for families, it is absolutely refreshing to be able to celebrate some good news as it relates to student accomplishments. So welcome, Allison, and I'll turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Moore. Yeah, so I am the teacher at the middle school and the high school for the bands. And there's a program through the California Band Directors Association, where they put on an all-state ensemble for the bands and the orchestras. So that is an ensemble that auditions. You have people throughout the state that are auditioning for this program. Normally, in a normal year, it would be, I believe, this coming weekend, students would gather in Fresno and they would put together their final rehearsals and put together a performance for their parents, the community, and all the directors and dignitaries that are there for that performance. Obviously, this year is a little different, just like it is for everything. And so Liam Belson, he's an 8th grader at El Segundo Middle School, and he auditioned for this program along with several students from across the state. He had to prepare an etude and several scales and email an audition in, which was evaluated by a panel of teachers, and he was chosen as the top performer in his age group for his instrument. And he is seated as the first cherryphonium player in the top middle school band in the state. So Liam is here and wanted to say a few words as well. So I wanted to thank you for inviting us, Dr. Moore, and Liam, you are up.
Yeah, so obviously it's been different since it's been online than in person, but it's still been really fun and helpful. And obviously I just really want to thank my tutor and my parents and the district, since I wouldn't have even started playing without them, and they've been really helpful.
And Leon, I just wanted to acknowledge we have a lovely certificate for you that we'll be sure either Mr. Wright or Miss Olashian will drop off at your house. It's been signed by all of our members of the Board of Education, and we are extremely proud.
Yes, it's so wonderful to hear from you, Liam, and to hear what your accomplishments are. I know you'll do great things keeping that going forward. So thank you for being here today. If this were a boardroom, we would be making you play, I think, wouldn't it, if we were in there together? So I am really sad we're missing out on that, but I hope there's a day that you will play for us live in the same room. All right, well, thank you also, Miss Davis, for everything. Great to see both of you guys here, special guests today. Thanks.
Congratulations, Liam.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, thank you for that. And now we're going to introduce our next presentation. Tonight, we have a presentation of the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee Annual Report for fiscal year 2019 through 2020. We have the esteemed Ryan Baldino, Committee Chair, present for this tonight. So, Dr. Moore, is there anything you'd like to add before
Yes, I'd
Ryan
like to just call on Kimberly Lenz to just share a few words about Mr. Baldino. As chair of the committee, we're very grateful to all committee members, but specifically Mr. Baldino for his leadership. So, Ms. Lenz.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. So we are grateful to the 7 citizens who sit on our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. This is an independent committee that gives feedback to the board and oversees expenditures for the Measure ES bond. Mr. Ryan Baldino has been the chairperson of that committee for the last 2 years, and he is here tonight as required by Proposition 39 to give a report to the board on the fiscal year 2019-20 audit report and expenditures. So with that, I will turn things over to Mr. Baldino.
Thank you, Kim. So Danny's going to be running the PowerPoint for me. I appreciate that. And thank you everyone on the board for giving me this time to give our report. So the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, we're looking at dollars that have already been spent. And what we're talking about are those dollars through the end of June 30, 2020. This gives a little brief history of the measure of the bond here. Before the bond was even placed on the ballot, there were many meetings with stakeholders and teachers and parents to find out what the needs were and facility assessments. That developed into a master plan to address the needs of our buildings for our students. And that was then transferred, or actually that let us know the amount of dollars we would need for a bond. So next slide, please. This is the actual ballot language that the folks of this town voted on. And this is included here because our role as the Citizen Oversight Committee is to make sure that every dollar is spent on what was voted for. This list is very detailed as far as upgrades for science and technology, but the end sentence that says To have independent oversight, no money for administrative salaries, all money staying local is really the core function of what this Citizens Oversight Committee does. Next slide, please. The ballot was on the November 2018 election and passed with a 63% approval. These funds are used to repair and replace science labs and libraries, upgrade the technology and support student achievements, as well as repair our deteriorating school buildings and classrooms. Okay, next slide. This bond oversight committee is required by statute. It is comprised of different representatives who live in community. Those are some people who are parent representatives like myself. We have members from the senior citizen community. We have business owners and individuals from recognized tax organizations. Our job is to, again, review the expenditures and make sure we're spending money where we're supposed to. Construction, rehabilitation, and building of buildings. Okay, next slide. Again, the purpose of the committee is to oversee those dollars that have been spent on the bond and to make sure those bond monies are spent accordingly. Again, the big thing here is that we don't want to see any dollars spent over teacher salaries or administrative services. Okay, next slide. This is a list of our committee members. I think you've done an excellent job. This is a very detail-oriented committee. I'm sure Shannon can tell you that we look at a lot of numbers and deal with a lot of spreadsheets. And folks on this committee are not shy about raising questions about why line items do not match up or where those dollars are going. And at the end of the presentation, I'll show you some of the agenda packets that we produce through the help of the school district employees that really help anyone who's interested track the dollars of where they're being spent. So I'd like to really thank the entire committee, Cheryl Smith, Lance Brunstrom, Stuart Carroll, Jennifer Drwowski, Scott Patterson, of course, Dr. Watkins. Everyone brings a unique perspective, and I feel fortunate to have such a dedicated group of people volunteering with me on this committee. Okay, this kind of lays out what the roles and responsibility are of the school district board versus the Citizen Bond Oversight Committee. On the left, you see really the big decisions the board has to make: the issuance of the bonds, how those monies are to be spent, recommendations on making changes to anything. And they also provide support to us as far as staff time, helping us run our meetings and doing all the Zoom technology that we rely on now. Our roles are mostly a backward-looking accounting practice to make sure that all the dollars are being spent in accordance with the law and as dictated by the bond language that the folks of this town voted on. Okay, next slide. So there are, this chart really just shows you how the different parties work together. There is something called a Facility Advisory Committee, which is made up of volunteer residents here with experience in construction. And they really help as a consultant to the superintendent and the school board to troubleshoot construction and to problem solve on the field as things evolve. The Board of Education ultimately makes responsibilities about financing and payments and if are there any projects and scopes or time. And what we do as the Citizen Bond Oversight Committee is that after those dollars have been spent, we come in and we check all the boxes and make sure those dollars are being spent appropriately. And again, that none of this bond money is spent on teacher salaries or administrative costs. Okay, next slide. This is the bond sales, again, as of June 2020. This kind of breaks down the number of bond sales to date. We've broken out the cost of selling those bonds, which is unavoidable, and then it gives us the running balance. So again, this is not current dollars, this is all past of June 2020. Next slide. We devised this chart to kind of show people in a simple graph of where the current dollars have been spent to date. You can see that the total expenditures through June 2020 is $5 million roughly, and this shows you by school site where those dollars have gone. Okay, next slide. This kind of gives you a different view of those same dollars, talks about what's been spent for modernization, new construction, and security. Early on, the first project was, of course, the fencing, and we'll see more new construction unfold as we start to get into the new gym and some other larger projects for the school. Every year, we have an independent accounting agency that comes in and reviews the books of the school district. They produce an independent audit that is then presented to the Citizen Bond Oversight Committee for review and approval. This is the basic summary of those findings, and what we're looking for here is to find basically no findings in the report, meaning there are no irregularities, there is nothing that seems out of order by this third-party audit. Okay, next. And the conclusions, again, not very exciting, but what we want to see is what we're seeing here, that there are no financial statement findings for the year end of June 30, 2020, no findings or recommendations related to the construction bond, which means everything that has been spent through that time period of June 30, 2020 is proper, is in conformance with what statute requires, has been reviewed by the Citizens Oversight Committee, and has been independently verified by an audit, which we have. So with that, our role here is to present this information to the board, which is based on the review and observations. We find that the El Segundo Unified District is in compliance with the requirements of Article 8A, Section 1B3 of the California Constitution, and that those funds are being used for the purpose specified in the ballot. And that's the ultimate goal of this board, is to make sure that we can make that finding and report back to the board, and more importantly, to the public and the taxpayers, that we have in our investigation determined that these dollars have been spent as they were intended. A big thanks again to the staff support we get. Kim has been phenomenal, and Shannon has been relentless with all of the edits and changes. I think even this PowerPoint, she was told what size font to use, and she's always done it with a smile. So the staff has been very supportive of our oversight committee, and I want to thank everyone for all the time and effort they put in to make our jobs possible. Okay, so now I want to ask Danny just to go to the school's website, because I want to show everybody what as we're doing as a Citizen Oversight Board to try to be as transparent as possible. So if you go to the El Segundo website, if you go to the Community tab up top, right there, perfect, and then scroll down to Measure ES, General Obligation Bond, and click on that, that'll pull up the page for the bond as well as the oversight committee. And what's I want to point out here is you click on agenda and minutes. What the school district does for us, and if you go ahead and scroll down for me, Danny, thank you, is that we have all of our agendas in our minutes. And go ahead, if you would, just click on January 11th, 2021 agenda. That was our last meeting. These agendas have all been hyperlinked by staff, so that as you read through the agenda, if you wanted to review the actual reports or the PowerPoint presentations that have been presented to the committee, they're available here for you. So Danny, could you just scroll down for me, please? And let's take a look at the type of reports we have here. Click on number 5, which is our financial status update. And this is showing payments through November 30, 2020. If you zoom in on that, this is kind of starts with an overview of money that's been spent with the original budget. And as you scroll down, you will see the level of detail that's been provided with respect to these dollars. Keep scrolling down. This is kind of the overview summary. And then we kind of get into the weeds here where we break it down by project. And if you keep going down, we have a list of pretty much every dollar that's been spent on this bond, where it's been tracked, and how it's been accounted. These are the type of reports we get. We also get, Danny, would you mind going back to the agenda? We get construction updates from Preeti, which are probably the most interesting thing to look at. It gives us a snapshot going forward. And that's probably going to be number 6, Danny, construction update. These allow the public to see the same presentations that we see, And this kind of gives us an idea of where we are with our master plan, where the projects are in completion, if there's been any changes or revisions to any designs or any upgrades required by the state ADA, then they're usually summarized here in these documents as well. So again, just for the public at home, if anyone has further questions or wants to know more about the bond funding or construction updates, these documents are regularly updated on the district website in the community tab under the ES General Obligation Bond. And that completes my presentation. I want to thank you guys all for the volunteer service you do, especially during these crazy times. And just let you know, I appreciate the time and effort you guys give to our community and to our kids.
Well, thank you, Mr. Baldino, and we are grateful that you and your committee are willing to look through all of those documents in great detail and keep everybody accountable. We really do appreciate your service there. Does any board member have any questions or comments they wish to add? Let me see. Let me go back to grid. I can't see. Hold on. I can't say who was first, Emily or Mike, one of you.
Mike.
Brian, I just want to say thank you. And if you can let the committee know, and I know that the facilities committee above in the chain of how these things work, it's just great that it's not falling all on us in the sense of there's so many eyes looking at this and everybody's taking a hard look at it, that it really makes it easy for us to go through those reports, look at things, and then know that you guys are there to clean it all up, you know, if somehow we go outside those lines. So thank you guys for keeping your eyes on this and keeping everybody accountable in the sense of, you know, and giving the public that opportunity to go back and really do a hard look at it if they need to, or if they feel like something just doesn't feel right. You know, you're giving them that information. And so it's a great opportunity for the public, and it couldn't happen without you guys. So thank you very much for all that. And I can't tell you how grateful I am that you're taking that leadership, because you just got voted in last time for another stint. So, you know, good luck with everything. So, because there's still a lot more work to do, but thank you very much, Ryan. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mike. It's really the committee that you have formed here is a great group of individuals who take their job very, very seriously. And we spent a lot of time in the beginning trying to figure out how to format all this information so that as we go along, the columns will be the same, just the numbers will change as we progress, so that you should be able to track it from the very first penny all the way through the end of the bond program. That's the idea, at least.
Emily, did you have a comment?
Well, you know, Ryan, you made a comment that it's not that exciting. I really appreciate that you guys have made it not that exciting, because when it is exciting in our world is usually, unfortunately, when there's problems. So, you know, thank you. I think the transparency is what keeps it unexciting, but I'll call it exciting. And I say this every time, you know, when I went to CSBA and then we presented at a cash conference, and all of the questions were, how do you form these committees? How do you get people to do these things? And that's what school districts were faced with, trying to, you know, meet the regulations, but what do you do? And I sit every time, and we don't have that problem. We've always had volunteers, and you are volunteering as we are volunteering. And I know you've got a busy job, kids, and the rest of the board members. So thank you. Please tell them thank you. Let them know that we get these reports. You know, I think sometimes people are on committees and they think, does it matter? No, I think it's important that they know that the board gets these regular reports. So thank you for making it unexciting.
You're welcome, Emily. Thank you for your time.
Daima?
Yes, I just want to chime in. And again, what was said before, transparency is key. And I like the way that everything was laid out. Most importantly, it's one thing to put everything out there so that you share it with the community, but the way in which things were grouped is really, to me, what's most important. People are interested in either the schools or the overall spend categories. And so I love that you took the same information and you cut it two ways so that you could appeal to whatever audience, whatever they were looking for. And that's when you just anticipate the needs of your audience. And for that, I say thank you, because it's one thing to have the transparency, but it's another thing to serve it in a way that it meets the needs of your audience. So I really appreciate that. And I want to say job well done. And you have a wonderful committee.
Thank you. I'll be sure to let the committee know all of your comments. I appreciate that.
Okay, anyone else? Any further discussion with our lovely partner, Mr. Baldino? Oh, Paulette, yes?
I can make this quick. I want to piggyback on what Daima said. I really liked your report and the layout and how easy it was to read and to digest and see what I wanted to see. I really was impressed, really impressed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again for being here, for putting that together, and for all the many, many hours of hard work that come behind that. So
You got it, Tracy.
Look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, hopefully
again
soon.
and again. Yes.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Hey, our next presentation tonight, lots of good stuff on the agenda tonight, is on the return of sixth graders to El Segundo Middle School. Dr. Moore, would you like to set that up further?
Yeah, I would like to just say a few brief remarks. We are welcoming Mr. Adam Wright and Principal, El Segundo Middle School, along with the Assistant Principal, Mrs. Carrie Olashian. And they have been working with the sixth grade team to consider what could this look like given the constraints that we are currently under. So it's important to note that under the current health order, we can't return sixth graders to a 4-period day as much as we would like to, in this sense of what once existed. The plan that we have before us this evening is what I consider a short-term plan, because as we continue to watch COVID-19 adjusted case rates, we are seeing a steady decline. So the reality is in sight that we could be welcoming back 7th through 12th grade students sooner than expected, which would be just a true gift. And then this plan would be altered based on whatever would be permissible in the red tier, because we do need to reach below 7 cases per 100,000 to return to the red tier and welcome back our 7th and 8th graders at the middle school as well. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Wright and Ms. Olashian to share their conceptual plan as it relates to returning 6th grade.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Good evening, Board President Miller-Zarnke, school board members, Dr. Moore, and cabinet. Once again, I'm Adam Wright. I'm the proud principal at El Segundo Middle School, and we're thrilled to present this plan to bring our El Segundo Middle School 6th graders back to campus for the first time. So, as Dr. Moore was saying, the plan that we've laid out is dependent on the LA County Department of Health. So we want to bring our students back, not for just the academics, right? Because our 6th graders have never been onto campus before. We want to be able to bring them onto campus to be able to show the, show them the campus and welcome them where they haven't been before. So we want them to be able to connect and interact with their teachers on a campus in person, because they have not had the opportunity to do that yet in the middle school. We're going to, as we show the plan, really show how we can use and expand students' academic knowledge in a format that allows us to do it within the county health guidelines. So some of the guidelines that we have, sorry, Danny, next slides. I forgot to tell you next slides. So this was our purpose, the sense of belonging. We want the teacher interaction and really that social emotional connection to the campus. Our students haven't been on campus before as students, so we really want to get them to come in and connect. And as much as we tell them that, hey, Bulldogs, we're Bulldogs, we want to show them that our Bulldogs are here to stay and on campus. Next slide. So some of the reopening guidelines, given the current requirements, we can't bring students back, like Dr. Moore said, to a traditional 4-period day or even 2-period day. The guidelines are very similar to what we see in elementary school, where students can only be in one stable cohort and teachers can only see a maximum 2 cohorts. So those limitations have kind of led us to where our schedule is, because we've had to think outside the box and find a solution to bring our 6th graders back safely. And I think that is the most important thing that we've worked on and collaborated with our 6th grade team, our reopening committee on campus, and our SAL team. So we've gone through many iterations of a schedule and really worked collaboratively to come up with something that we think we can bring students back that is both valuable and keep students as safe as possible. Next slide. So here is our schedule. We are modifying the schedule for the entire campus. So in the morning, we'll move the 4 periods to 4 55-minute periods, a travel time so students can travel to campus with enough time, and then our live at ESMS in the afternoon. What you'll see there is a 1 to 2:30 time and a 1:10 to 2:40. So yes, we will have 2 different cohorts, a cohort A and a cohort B, but then we'll have 2 groups inside of that cohort to kind of stagger the start, similar to what we have in elementary, to make sure we can bring back students safely onto campus, and we don't have as much grouping around the entrances. As you know, we only have about 3 entrances onto campus. So what is the live at ESMS? It's a mix of engagement of academics. We want students to interact with their teachers. We want them to have some fun, but we also want it to be engaging and educational. We know that students can't be in their pure academic classes, so we want to do something that is cross-curricular, that works within our IB program, works within the graduate profile to allow students to continue their learning. But obviously having students back, we want students to do it safely. So I'm going to have Ms. Olashian talk a little about classroom safety.
Good evening. We have many COVID safety measures that have actually been in place since November, when we first welcomed our special populations back onto campus. And so the last few weeks, we've been extending those procedures into our 6th grade classrooms in preparation for this potential opening. We, of course, have our desks 4 to 6 feet apart with our barriers in between. That allows us to have 16 students in each classroom or each cohort with the 1 teacher. Of course, as soon as everybody gets onto campus, they are masked, their nose and mouth covered the entire time. We're putting hand washing stations and hand sanitizer in every 6th grade classroom. Today, Mr. Rabi'i piloted our electronic health screening, which is going to be used district-wide for both students and staff on a daily basis. And then we also do an additional temperature check as students as soon as they enter campus. We have staggered start times and end times, different entrances and exits, like Mr. Wright mentioned, assigned walking paths, assigned bathrooms. And then last week, we also piloted our weekly COVID tests for staff who are on site. That's been really encouraging and helpful for staff as well. So you can see that we're actively implementing our COVID safety measures in order to minimize exposure for both students and staff while they're on campus.
So our next steps, after tonight, if the board grants us the approval, we're going to send out a parent and student survey. One thing we think is important, that students can stay connected with their current teachers or former teachers, but also have the option to maybe be in some classes with some friends that they haven't been able to connect with in person in the last, 11 months. And then finally, the next step would be for students to return. Next slide, Danny. So at this time, thank you all very much. We're so excited to have students back on campus. It is a very, very quiet campus right now, and I'm definitely ready to have some of that excitement of having students on campus, and really the opportunity to have 6th grade back, and to immerse them into that Bulldog culture and have them ready, and really have them feel connected to school. Because I can only imagine for our 6th graders, for our Bulldogs, how it must feel that they've never been able to be on campus yet. So we're excited for them to come and have that experience. And I'm open for any questions anyone might have.
Thank you, both of you, for a great presentation. Board members, does anyone have questions or comments that they'd like to ask? Daima, I see your hand up.
All right, I have a quick question. Can you explain what the Live at ESMS, I know you briefly went over it. I'm not sure that I have a full understanding of it. Is it in person and what's covered there?
Yeah, so the Live at EMS is just our catchy name. As many of you guys know, I have my catchy names I like to have. I have my bow tie Tuesdays, you know, the weekly whoop. So we just came up with Live at ESMS because it is our time where our sixth graders are going to be live on campus with teachers. So it's not going to be virtual. It's our Live at ESMS. And that'll be where they're in class doing live lessons with teachers.
Other questions, comments?
Not
Emily?
really a question. I think it's more of a comment. You know, as a parent and you hear the cohorts and this and that, I think it's important that we put out to the community. We don't know exactly yet, you know, what we're doing. I thank you and the sixth grade team. I know you guys are looking at ever-changing targets and you don't even really have a target yet. You know, the county hasn't even really given us a target of what coming back looks like, but I do, I'm excited. I'm excited, and please let the sixth grade team know that, and you guys, you know, how important this is. You know, it is really, really important. I've got a neighbor that's a sixth grader, and as you said, never stepped on campus yet, doesn't know what sixth grade means. You know, they just, in her mind, school is still that K-5 where you have one teacher. She doesn't understand moving class to class, having free recess period where you're not grouped by your class. You know, I was just talking to her, and I'll be frank, she's nervous, you know, and I hope we're taking that into account to, you know, not only is going to sixth grade hard, but now it's after not going to school for so long, going back to school. So I think, you know, that sixth grade and when we get there, and I'm really hopeful, and I think we'll get there, the ninth graders also, you know, that these are big transition times that is scary enough in a perfect world. And in this COVID world, there's an added layer of anxiety and just what do we, how do we help them and reach out to them? So to the parents watching, this is where I commend our teachers and our staff for getting there, having these conversations. There's a lot of districts that are just like, can't do it, not going to do it. They're throwing their hands up. So thank you. But please figure this out, guys. I just, and the board, I know the administration, we're you know, the district is there, but let us know what you need. I think this is important times right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. And I would like to say thank you to all the teachers and staff that have helped put this together. I just want to give them a special shout out too, because they have worked so hard on all of this. So Emily, thank you for recognizing them.
I just want to reiterate too what Emily had said and just say thank you guys. I know this takes a lot of work in such a short time to have to put this all together, and you know, the ability of an administration to work with their teachers and to get this all planned out, I'm sure it took a lot of time and a lot of effort. And so thank you guys very much for doing that, because I think it's just an awesome opportunity for our sixth graders, like Emily just said, you know, who have never been able to step on that campus to have that opportunity. And I can just tell you from, you know, experience with my third grader getting to go back to school, the joy that it is bringing the student in that sense. And I know that's just one student, but, you know, and I know Emily brings it up too, that there are going to be some students that are concerned, but this is just a great opportunity. And like Emily said, thank you so much to the teachers and to you guys for your administrative guidance in getting this completed and you know, ready for our students to be able to come back to school, even in this temporary plan, like Dr. Moore has said. And, you know, and there is still a lot of inconsistencies in how it's supposed to operate between all these guidelines. But I think that's where the public really needs to know that if not for your ability to maneuver all this, this doesn't happen. And so thank you guys very much. And thank you to the teachers who are making the commitment to come back to those students. And I'm just really grateful. So thank you guys.
Yeah, I just want to add that I don't know if people realize, but I think the Department of Health didn't really recognize that 6th grade is middle school now, and maybe lumped it in with elementary, you know, the one class that you go to and then you go home. So I do commend you and your staff for trying to figure out, what does that mean in a school where we have 4 teachers per student? I mean, so whatever it is that you will do with the 6th graders when they come back to campus, I think it'll be a wonderful acclimation and getting acquainted and getting comfortable with, you know, what does middle school mean. I do want to ask one question, because I don't know if anybody caught this. The schedule will change for all middle schoolers, right? In order to accommodate this. So that's interesting for the rest of them as well, to make a little adjustment at home. So, but again, how else would you do that, right? Since you've got to have your, you know, minutes per day and who's in school when and all that. So I commend you for having to think all the way through 7th and 8th grade as well because of that. So we look forward to hearing how this develops and a date of when it can happen. So keep us posted. We are ready and excited to approve all kinds of good stuff. Dr. Moore, did you have something to add?
Yes, I just wanted to add that this is an action item 6A that you will be voting on this evening. And then I would anticipate the date will be likely in early March.
Great, thank you for that. It's good to know and to look forward to. All right, well, thank you again for both of you being here, and again, the whole middle school for putting your thinking caps on and refiguring things out yet again. We appreciate all your effort in that respect. So
thank you all. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you so much.
All right. Our next presentation is about the return of El Segundo High School seniors in a limited capacity. Dr. Moore, would you like to set that up?
Yes, I'd like to enthusiastically welcome the team from El Segundo High School who's here this evening. We have Dr. Gooden, we have Mrs. Devlantes, and then we have 2 senior leaders, Alexander Kane and Nicholas Pita here. And so what's exciting about this opportunity is that it's something that is for kids with kid input. And so our students are taking an active role in creating what this senior experience would be. So we are once again extremely excited that we bring this plan to you this evening. Dr. Gooden.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Moore, members of the cabinet. I just need to start by saying how excited we really are as a school, faculty, and student body to have this opportunity to bring kids back on campus in a limited capacity. Similar to what Dr. Moore said about how we're constantly looking at how we can pivot and make changes, I want to just make sure that our 9th through 11th grade parents know that we are already in the process of coming up with a plan, so that way as soon as we're able to bring back our other kids, we will have opportunities for them as well. But for right now, what the health order is allowing is for us to bring back a small number of kids. So we're going to start with our seniors. Next slide. So I want to just quickly kind of go over our journey of where we've started, what we've done, and where we're at now. So when we first began in October, we brought back approximately 50 students that were either students that are serviced with an IEP or students who were just having some troubles and weren't doing well, needed some extra specialized support. So we were able to service about 50 kids in that group. And we also had the opportunity to bring back our sports pods. So our sports pods came back and we had about 215 kids that were on campus throughout the week participating in the small group exercising and conditioning. And we are right now in the process where we have our winter pods going on. So almost all of them have started. We have a couple that are still in the final stages of getting their pods together. And we have 400 kids that are signed up for our pods that are currently taking place right now after school. Now we have had the opportunity to expand our pods in the winter after winter break. And once we came back from that short little recess that we had, the pause, and our students that are in the drama, they're in a pod right now. So they were able to come back on campus. Our ASB officers that are seniors were able to come back on campus. And we have several other that are in the process right now also of coming back on campus for some limited services. So we're constantly looking at ways that we can include more kids in our journey of reopening our school. And what I think is most important is that, yes, we have had several kids that have participated in some of our activities on campus that have, tested positive for COVID, but we had no community transmission. So that meant that no student that was on our campus, even though they may have tested positive, transferred to any other student within their group, which to me is really a testament that the protocols that we use are working, that our students are respectful of the boundaries and making sure that they're keeping their distance, keeping their masks on, and this works. So we're confident that we're able to provide that same protection for our seniors when we bring them back in small pods. Next slide. Okay. So this was a comment, Mrs. Duplantis is going to talk in a few minutes about our student survey that we did with our students, but this is a comment that one of our students wrote, and it really got to the heart of, I think, what we're trying to accomplish right here. And the quote was, "Getting to finally see the faces of both teachers and peers in person would instill pure happiness as I live out the last few months of high school at home." Next slide. So before I turn it over to Mrs. Duplantis to talk about what our protocols are going to be, I think it's important for everybody to, you just heard that quote from a student, and if you know anything about El Segundo High School, and I think any senior could tell you that as they've been going through the last 12 years, you hear about the senior activities, you hear about the great things that happen at El Segundo High School as culminating activities. And these are the things that our kids, although they love coming to school for academics, everybody shake their head, right? They are really missing out on some of these activities that are once in a lifetime activities that are not happening right now. And we're really just looking for opportunities to bring back that Eagle community, give our kids that final sense of closure on the campus, and just try to bring a sense of normalcy to some of those things that they're missing out on. So I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Duplantis, who's going to talk about kind of what our protocols and procedures are, but then we really want the kids to tell you, this is something that they have helped us to brainstorm and come up with, and we really want you to hear from them about what our actual plan is. So Mrs. Duplantis.
Thank you, Dr. Gooden. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Moore and President Miller-Zarnicki. It's good to see everyone tonight. And like Dr. Gooden mentioned, we put out a survey to seniors last week, and we weren't sure, how it was going to be received exactly to see what their interest would be in participating in these senior pods. And within just a couple of hours, we had nearly 100 responses. It went pretty quickly. And so that told us from the beginning that students were excited and looking forward to returning. So in that survey we've put out to seniors, we've had 98% of students respond that they will be coming back to campus. 238 kids have said yes, they want to join our student pods, our senior pods, with 12 students responding no. And of those no's that they answered, a lot of them had to do with some health and safety concerns with their families, as well as some students who are actually currently they're either traveling or they're moving around a little bit. They're not sure they can commit to being here every Monday. So we will follow up with an additional survey to see their interest and get their official signups. But as part of that survey, we also asked students who they wanted to be with, because we recognize that them being together again as seniors on campus, that they would want to come and be with peers, that their friends, that they've traveled, maybe some all the way through El Segundo schools together, which we know is so eclectic and unique to being here. But then just to have that chance to be able to be around one another, share their goals and hopes and things they've been doing, and be with each other as they finish out being El Segundo students. Next slide, Danny. So obviously, like Dr. Gooden mentioned, one of our key components here is safety. We want to make sure that our students, as they're returning to campus, are safe, that there aren't any concerns. We are priding ourselves on that no community transmission and hope to be able to continue that as we move forward. And so we will plan our cohorts to have 14 students in each of them. They will remain stable cohorts, meaning there won't be any switching around of students from cohort to cohort. Within that, we will have one adult per cohort. We asked our staff if they would be interested in coming back to help manage the senior pods that we're doing. And again, we had an overwhelming response of teachers that were willing to jump in and help and be here to celebrate our seniors in their last chance as Eagles. While the students are here, there will be required masks and distancing. We'll make sure that a lot of our activities are being held outside with a focus on planning activities that can be done socially distanced and outside as well. Luckily, we've already, with the help of our great M&O team here in the district, we have our hand washing and sanitizing stations throughout that are ready to go. And with the return of students earlier on in the fall, we've got our bathrooms ready and cordoned off. for students to be able to utilize when they're here. So we're looking forward to that, and we feel like we're ready to have our students back on our campus. Next slide, Danny. So looking at our schedule and planning, the way that we designed our schedule this year, the cohorts, it would make the most sense for cohorts to meet, our senior cohort pods to meet on Mondays. And we have an anticipated start date of just real soon here on March 8th. Students will come to campus through a variety of entry points. We're fortunate to have a few different places on campus to welcome students. They can come in, they will be temperature checked, as well as answering some of our COVID screener questions. And then while students are here, they'll be in as attendance as an in-school activity. So there won't be hopefully any stress in what's happening with their school day that day, because they'll be in a school activity that day. And then we will take a pause on our pods during AP testing, so that seniors that are taking AP exams won't feel the pull between both of those challenges. Next slide, Danny. So we really wanted to make sure that you knew that this planning came from our students, that we have been working with them from the get-go, and that our senior ASB members have come back to work together with Mrs. Espinosa in planning what this will look like for seniors. We recognize that they are used to having quite a few unique traditions that happen, and we've got to think about ways we can make those traditions happen, but even celebrate some new things and try some new things out. And so we're excited tonight to welcome Nick Pita and Xander Kane, who will be sharing some of their ideas and how this group has come together to plan what we will do with our seniors. So Xander and Nick, I'm handing it over to you. And then I think next slide, Danny, as well.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Devantis and Dr. Gooden for having me on the panel. So yeah, I'm a senior at El Segundo High School, but I'm also a fourth-year member of student government. So I'm really used to planning events for my peers, and that's kind of what I've evolved into a passion in my 4 years in high school. And so obviously with the circumstances this year, that's not something necessarily that we've been able to do in the same capacity. But with these senior pods, it prevents kind of a perfect opportunity for us to reimagine some of these ideas. Dr. Gooden was saying that a lot of seniors look forward to these events instead of just the academics, of course, that all throughout your years as an El Segundo student. So at least for me, I was really looking forward to some things as grad night and of course graduation. But beyond that, I think I realized I missed most crucially is like just that social interaction with my friends in the hallways and things, just small things like that. And so with the senior pods and bringing seniors back, I think it can really brighten the seniors' days, really. I'm lucky enough to come back every Tuesday and Thursday as an ASB member, and just being on campus, working with my friends, socially distanced, of course, and really getting back to where I belong, I think, is just really kind of made the experience just that much better for me as my senior year. And so some of the ideas that we've come up with, our first day, we have fairly well planned out, but some of the ideas in a more broad aspect are everything from taking silly student ID pictures, a scavenger hunt around the campus so we can see some of the new updates to the campus, like the new gyms, the cafeteria, and then of course just hanging out with our friends in some of the pods, watching movies, creating some spirit items for the students, and even photo booths. So yeah, once again, thank you guys so much for the opportunity. And I think it's a really important opportunity for a lot of our seniors.
I'd like to thank Dr. Gooden and Ms. Devantis for having me on here. And I think above all, what this is going to do is it's going to throw like the perfect kind of curveball into all our like senior schedules. I think we as seniors have gotten way too used to like doing the same thing over and over again. Since this takes place of a day of school, I think it'll just be an amazing just way for us to get out, really experience what we were missing. I know all of you guys, most likely went to high school, right? You most likely had your senior activities, and you're probably thinking them very fondly. It kind of sucks, we weren't able to do everything, but this offers, the perfect sort of middle ground. It's the best we could do, and it would actually be a very huge hamper to all of us if we were not able to do it. I know me myself, I kind of want to see all the kids, like students I haven't seen for what's coming up on basically a year at this point. We haven't really seen any sort of friends or acquaintances at this school since March 13th of 2020, and now it's February 23rd, 2021. I think it's massively important that you guys pass this, just for the sake of, us as seniors being able to look in the past and see we truly didn't waste our senior year and had a lot of fun during it.
Thank you, Nick and Xander. I wanted to just end by, sharing with our community and our board the support that we have from the El Segundo High School community and from our teachers on campus. We would not be able to run this program without the teachers who have said, yes, we are willing to take this on, and not only are we willing to take this on, but also some teachers are picking up some classes for some other teachers, because if we have teachers on campus and they have more than just 12th graders in their class, someone has to kind of cover that class. So it really was a team effort as far as our leadership coming up with this idea, presenting it to the kids, then having the kids create on that vision. We're always all better together. And I think this is a great example of how we've been able to work together with all parties just to come up with a plan that will support our students. And, my hope is that you will step foot back on this campus before we hit that 1 year mark of the day we left thinking we were going home just for a couple of weeks. So we hope that, you take this into consideration and that we'll be able to start on March 8th. And we're happy to answer any questions that you might have at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Gooden and Ms. Devontis and Xander and Nick. It was great to hear from you all. I'm actually a little teary here. I'm just thinking about how amazing it will be for you guys to be together. So I'm going to hold those tears though right now and see if any of my fellow board members have questions or comments that they'd like to share. Paulette, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I really would like to commend the high school for putting this together. It's very exciting, and the students participating, that is really amazing. And good job. And I can't wait to hear about how successful you are, and I think it's going to be great. Thank you so much for all your work.
Okay. Daima, did you want to speak?
Yes, I want to first say thank you to Nick and Alexander. We all talk about how hard this year is, but let's really look at this. This right here says it all. When you talked about the numbers, you said that there were, out of 250 students, you have 238 coming back. You have 98%. And we're talking about our seniors. And right here, this is just a true exercise of compassion, because you really are going above and beyond to ensure that they have some sense of normalcy. And I appreciate that. And so that's why it was so important, just listening to you both, Nick and Alexander, hearing the passion in your voice, talking about how you dedicated your high school career to planning events, and your last year when it's time to shine is the 1 year that, you have been almost denied. And that's the key word, it's almost. And I think in this, we have to look at hope. 98% said yes, they want to come back. And our high school team made it happen. And for that, all we can do is celebrate. We can't dwell on what is happening, but we can capture those moments that are made available and celebrate each moment, small or large. And so just thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your joy and passing that on to us.
I just wanted to add one of the things that I appreciate working with this group of ASB students. I was having a conversation today with Xander about, we know that there's a group of kids who, for health reasons or parents not being comfortable, aren't comfortable coming back to campus. And how can we take each one of those days and figure out a way that, whether it's in one of the classrooms, we have the kids be able to zoom in on the classroom, or for some of the specific activities. So one of the things that, is a tradition here at our school is doing quiz bowl. So we're planning on doing a pod quiz bowl, and, being able to get a big screen to put all of our kids almost as like a Jeopardy audience or whatever it might be for any kids that want to see it, and figuring out ways that other kids from, other classes could come and join in. So, I kind of started this idea with, if they could figure out a way to reimagine a presidential inauguration and do it greatly, we can do the same thing here at El Segundo High School. And the kids are just awesome and have done a great job of coming up with things that we would have never thought of. So
Awesome. So
Emily,
go ahead.
Emily, do you want to go first?
Sure. First, hey Xander and Nick, it's been a while. I was laughing. I haven't really seen you guys since we did snack bar, and junior snack bar, and we made that happen in an interesting year. Your class was the first year with no snack bar too, and we made that work, and it was rough, and I think any of us would happily do that again if we meant we were back at school. So I think good job, guys. I think you being voices for your peers is important. A few just logistical questions, which I think is pretty much covered, but just to make sure people understand, it's like a 2-hour block, right? So Monday seniors would have 2 hours on campus, and from what I'm kind of hearing, I have a senior, so I'm hearing that will be their day for that day, correct? They don't then get on and do all the rest of their things.
So yes, that will pretty much be their day, because we figured we have kids coming from different areas, so we've got to make allowances in the morning to make sure that they're getting on campus. We know that we want to make sure that we're getting all the kids on campus safely. So that process could take us 30 minutes, 45 minutes when we start to go through just getting all of our groups here on campus. So our idea of the 2 hours is that there are 2 full hours of activities that we're planning. And then you add the 45 minutes at the beginning of getting the kids there. Then, once we finish, getting them out and giving them time to get home. So, 2 hours is about the time that we're planning on it, but there may be some activities and some days. For example, we're looking at ways to do a 2020 picture of the pods. So on that day, because of the pictures, it may need to be spaced out a little bit more. So each day we're going to make sure that the time is filled in, but we needed to allow that travel time in there. And we just wanted to make sure that all the kids can rotate through whatever the activities are for the day safely. And that may mean that there might be a little bit of lag time in between each of the pods, just to really keep them separate and safe.
No, I think it's a great idea. I just wanted to make sure anyone listening understood this isn't in addition to to their days. I think this is wonderful. As Tracy said, it's I tried as a senior mom, and it's rough. As much as I feel for the kindergarten, first, second graders, I'm glad I'm not a parent of those. That would be really rough, keeping them on Zoom. That's rough, but it's just different. And when I talk to parents, every grade has its challenges. As we talked about the 6th graders coming back, making that transition middle school is rough. And for our seniors, I think if we gave any other senior class, say we gave them 2 or 3 weeks off, and then we'd ask them to come back and do these things, I don't think we would have the participation rate, that 98 participation rate. I think these seniors really have learned to appreciate what is missed. And so, as I think Daima said, you hold on to the positives. This isn't what we wanted for any senior, but I think you guys truly will appreciate things going forward and figuring it out, and resilience. There is a true resilience and figuring life out. And I know my life hasn't gone as I planned it, but it's good. And you find ways to make it work. So thank you. Thank you to the high school, and the staff. There's teachers stepping up right now, and El Segundo would not be where we are right now without our teachers stepping up and making these things happen. It would be impossible without our administration and staff to make these things happen. So thank you. Please let them know that we are aware that this is something that they could all say, no thanks. But for them to see, and to you students, stay in there, and enjoy these times. I'm not going to tell you that it's doesn't completely stink for you, but you're going to get to do some stuff that other classes are not going to get to do. So hold on to that and make that special.
Thank you, Emily. I can only imagine, but I want to say this is, it's almost been a year since last March when we had to close down. And one of the themes that I've noticed that the high school has continuously maintained is this idea of some normalcy and closure for our seniors. And I know you guys made great efforts last year in a real tumultuous time to get signs out and to make the seniors and do as much as you could within those confines and those constraints and again in a time where I don't think there was really clear guidelines. So thank you guys very much for making that the theme, and I think offering this to the seniors is an amazing opportunity. And Ms. Devlantes said something, and it kind of went in and went out, and it was that 14-person cohort. And automatically when I hear that, it means that teachers are committing and overcommitting to making sure that our seniors are able to come back. And so I hope that the community will realize that our teachers are making this step to get those students back, because you couldn't maintain that kind of ratio if teachers didn't step up and overcommit to things that I think in some instances aren't going to be part of their duties. And they're probably taking on some things to make this happen for our seniors. So it's something that I think people need to understand. And so hopefully, my comments on that will alleviate that, we're not doing enough. And the other comment that you made, Dr. Gooden, that was amazing is we are already planning for our 11th to 9th graders. Okay. And so the acknowledgement that this is a continuing effort to get all of our students back into school is an amazing thing. And the foresight in it is great. And so thank you, administration, for and teachers for making this commitment to the kids. And then the last thing is, and it's kind of a side note, is I've had the privilege to coach Xander, Nick, and Benny. And so it's a great thing that, I've had the opportunity to see all these young men in action as student athletes and now as school leadership. It's just an amazing thing what the school is able to do for our students and the opportunity it gives to them. And so I'm just very proud to be able to be a part of it all. And great job, guys, for stepping up as students and leading the school into a direction where we could get back with the teachers and the admin. It's just admirable on everybody's parts. And so I'm just extremely excited for you all and grateful, and can't tell you how happy it's making me feel that students are going to have this opportunity for that closure. So thank you guys very much for all your hard work. Tell the teachers I'm very grateful, and thank you to the admin for all your hard work.
Yeah. Any other comments or thoughts from the board? All right. Well, I'll just reiterate, thank you guys all so much, from the administration to the staff and the teachers especially. But you guys on here, you students and all the ASB that put this together, amazing, really amazing. So I can't wait to hear how this goes. I'm so excited for y'all. So thank you for being here, and we'll see this action item soon. Okay, we will move into first consent agenda. That is our next realm here. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll move approval of, it looks like, items A through J.
I'll second items A through J.
Great, we have a motion, a second. Any comments, discussion, anything? Okay, let's call for a vote. Your advisory vote.
Aye.
And Mike, your vote?
Aye.
Daima?
Aye.
Paulette?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
And I will also vote aye. Motion carries 5-0 on the consent agenda. And on to action items. Item A, approval to return 6th grade hybrid students on campus. Dr. Moore, would you like to add anything?
Yes, I would just like to once again reiterate our plan this evening is a short-term solution. So as we continue to actively monitor the ever-evolving case rate of COVID-19, we are looking and watching significant declines occur. And when those declines occur, the possibility does exist and it's highly likely that we could get to the red tier, which would enable more flexibility to return the 7th through 12th students. So for the moment, and likely for the month of March, this would be in place for our 6th grade students. And I really want to share that I appreciate the acknowledgement of the board that 6th grade is a very key grade, that students could be nervous about getting back on campus. What does it look like? Even being nervous to go class to class. And this could just really help ground our kids in having that understanding, beginning to build that relationship face-to-face with their teacher. And so this could be a short-term solution, and we appreciate the work of Mr. Wright and Ms. Alashian to make this occur and have this opportunity. It's also important to note that as President Miller-Zarnicki shared, you know, I believe public health thought that 6th grade was at the elementary school and that students only had one teacher to deal with. So is this what people might expect? No. Is this what other schools might not be, you know, might be doing? Not necessarily. All schools that have 6th grade at the middle school will have to come up with their plan that works for their teachers in their settings. So I appreciate that there has been collaboration between the teachers and the administration to find something that will work and allow for our academic program to continue on, and also take into account that social emotional piece and building those relationships.
Great, thank you, Dr. Moore. Do I have a motion for approval? Naima, thank you for that. And a second? Paulette, thank you for that. Any further discussion on this item? No? Okay, let's vote. Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
And Mike, your vote.
Aye.
Naima?
Aye.
Paulette?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
And I will also vote aye. The motion carries. Welcome back, 6th grade. All right, item B is approval to return seniors to El Segundo High School campus in a limited capacity. Dr. Moore?
Yes, I just wanted to mention that this action is permissible under the high needs hybrid. So as I shared earlier, you know, in a traditional sense, we have to get to the red tier to open grades 7 through 12 with some degree of normalcy in this setting, but this is in a limited capacity, and this allows for our students on campus to be less than the 25%. So it is permissible as in the outlined in the health order.
Okay, thank you for that. Do I have a motion for approval? Naima, and I see Paulette. I'll give Paulette the second on that. Thank you. Do you have any further discussion on this item? Great.
I think I want to point out that we'll keep saying that, you know, this is while current rates are where they're at and current things are at that. This doesn't mean that this is all the seniors could do for the rest of the year. If our numbers, as they keep decreasing the way they do, this will be reevaluated and they could be brought back. You know, and I can't ever get to the word regular. I don't think anything's going to look regular for a while, but they could be back in a much greater capacity than, you know, just on Mondays for 2 hours. So I don't want people thinking that this is our plan going forward for seniors. And I think this is kind of a warning to parents and people with schedules and thinking that, you know, it's just going to be online forever. I think this kind of shows where we're headed, and hopefully with those rates come down that they'll be back more. So I think everyone needs to start planning for that wonderful day when there will be more at school.
Okay, great. Any other comments or discussion? All right, let's vote. Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Naima?
Aye.
Paulette?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
And I will also vote aye. Thank you, and welcome back, seniors, in your limited capacity, on the road to something more regular. Awesome. Okay. Item C, approval of temporary release resolution number, 14 for 2020-2021, non-reelecting temporary certificated employees. Dr. Moore?
Yes, this action this evening is regulatory in nature, as the individuals listed in the resolution are on a temporary contract serving in a capacity for a teacher who is on a leave of absence or for a specially funded position. So I recommend approval on this item as the individuals who are on leave of absence will likely return.
Okay, thank you for that. I know at times we read out portions of resolutions. Is this one of those times in which we need to do that? Do you know?
No, I don't think that is necessary.
Okay, it's all very clearly spelled out in the document, so great, thank you. Okay, with that, I'll ask for a motion for approval.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, thank you, Mike. And a second, I think I saw Paulette. Yes,
Paulette.
second from Paulette, thank you. Any discussion or comments?
I think it's just important to remember this is regulatory. You know, this isn't just something we chose to do for certain people. Every year, it's a timing thing, and it's just something we do every year.
It's the before March 15th thing, so here we are. Okay, with that, let's vote. Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Naima?
Aye.
Paulette?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
And I will also vote aye. The motion carries 5-0. Item D, approval to extend waste management contract with Ware for the 2021-22 fiscal year. Dr. Moore?
Yes, Ware is the company that we have been working with who had the lowest bid in 2018. We are pleased with their service and their rates continue to be most competitive. We recommend renewal of this contract.
Okay, I can have a motion for approval. Naima, thank you. And a second. Oh, that's close.
Paulette beat me.
I'm giving it to Paulette. All
There's
right,
a
thank you. Thank you both. But Paulette, you have the motion for seconding. Is there any discussion on this item? No, seeing none, let's move into voting. Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Mike, your vote.
Aye.
Naima?
Aye.
Paulette?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
And I will also vote aye. Motion carries 5-0. Item E tonight, approval to enter into an agreement with VPLS Incorporated. Dr. Moore, tell us about that.
Yes, VPLS is a company that we contract with for our data center. And I know in previous board had an opportunity to tour the facility. And this particular facility is state of the art. It has redundancy to ensure that if power goes down, we do not have undue burdens on our staff or have to worry about rescuing equipment or servers. This is a 5-year deal with VPLS. They also do data scrubbing for us to ensure that we don't have viruses that deter us. And since we have been using VPLS, we have not had any type of interruption in our service, and that has been tremendous. It seemed like El Segundo had a number of issues with Edison Power in the past, my first several years here, and it would not be unlikely to have Mr. Downa have to show up on a Sunday to have to rebuild a server that got fried. So this has really ensured that those types of burdens are no longer occurring for our tech staff. And this service has been tremendous and saved us quite a bit of money as it relates to that. If you look at the breakdown of the monthly cost, I think it looks a little bit more manageable as it relates to a 60-month commitment. So I just wanted to point that out as well. And I enthusiastically recommend this.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I have a motion for approval?
I'll move approval.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Mike. Any discussion on this item?
I did get to tour this facility. It's in El Segundo, just down El Segundo Boulevard. You wouldn't even know it's there, and once you go inside, it's amazing. I mean, they have generators the size of my house, and not just one, but I remember 3 of these generators, and I remember when we were making this decision the first time, it was and that's why board was like, oh, look at the money, and that's it we want to see. And they trooped us down there, and they gave us a tour, and I can tell you the backup, the security, the redundancy. I know Danny was very appreciative, and just it's one of those things where as a small district we can't do everything and the way that it needs to be done, and so it makes sense. And I do agree. You got to look at the monthly cost. When you look at that 500,000, you're thinking, what in the world? But it is worth it, and I think Danny is always very frugal and very conscientious when he brings that stuff to us. So just my 2 cents.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
I was going to ask Danny if he had any comments for us, because, honestly, as we become more technologically driven, this is a really big expenditure, but I think people need to understand that just a monthly cost, if you look at the monthly cost, that's what it would be. That's what it would cost us to rebuild a server if a server went down, if not more, to rebuild a server, and the amount of technology and the cost of it. So if this is giving us that maintenance that we need and that continuous security, because in my discussions with Danny, it's always been a priority that our students be safe from those kind of threats that come across from the internet, that our families be safe, and when we have technology, that those platforms be available to be safe. So, Danny, do you have any thoughts or comments that you'd like to share that I think the public should know?
Yes.
I don't mean to put you on the spot either. So,
no. First of all, I thank the board. This was board approved February 13th, 2018. Dr. Moore did a great job of presenting the data center and how we approached it in regards to why we did it. As you know, besides going through experiencing rolling brownouts here, we did have an attack back in November 2017, a DDoS attack, and also in the month of December. And so the scrubbing process, it helped us a lot in regards, because we were getting attacked from Russia, from China, from Ukraine. And that being said, not just the security side of it, as Ms. Lane mentioned, is the data center has not just security and physical security, but also for our air conditioning. They have raised floors. We have 24/7 monitoring. So as the data center, we have our own rack space there. We do utilize their ISP. So when I think it was a couple of days ago, Spectrum, half the east side of El Segundo went down on the Spectrum side. We never went down. We have our own ISP with BPLS. We have 2 dedicated ISPs. So am I a happy camper? Definitely a happy camper here, because guess what? I'm able to sleep at night in regards to making sure that, our system's up. Anything could go down. We understand that. But when we had those big outages, a year ago too, we were never affected in regards to, I know Dr. Moore sent me a text. Hey, are we good? We are good. So again, I would like for the new board members to maybe do a tour of our new data center too. That would be nice to show what we have in place in regards to not just a rack, just with our network equipment, our firewall, our web service appliances, but our servers that we migrated here locally to the data center. We migrated 21 servers. So again, it was a great thank you for me, and especially for my IT team, in regards to the board and Dr. Moore approving this data center co-location move for us.
Do you remember all the weekends you used to have to come in, Danny, and redo everything? And
Labor Day weekend, my Labor Day weekend, so I had to come in. Yes, we're during the rolling brownouts. Yes.
And we don't hear about those anymore. So
no, we don't.
I think that's great.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you, Danny.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the board? Yeah, I agree. Now in our times of we really depend on technology, we really need to make sure we're doing the best we can in providing all this. So I'm glad we have that option, and it's proven well over the last 3 years so far. So with that, let's vote. Can I have a motion? Oh, I already did that. No, I didn't do that. I don't think I did that yet. That was all. No, I did. Sorry.
Oh, we did. 'Cause I can
Hello.
say-
It's motion, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
moved. We're ready to vote. Thank you. All right, back on track. Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
And Mike, your vote.
Aye.
Daima,
Aye.
Paulette,
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
I will also vote aye. The motion carries. Thank you. Item F, approval of amendment to agreement with Teleq Construction Management to extend bond project management support staff. Dr. Moore.
Yes, this item is to allow us to continue on with a project manager to assist us with the upcoming projects and closing out any remaining projects as we phase. We're in a current state of transition, in addition to the fact that our staff is really tied up with plans for school reopening and things that have to do with continuing to improve our health and safety. We recommend approval.
Okay, if I can have a motion for approval.
I'll motion to approve the Toluca continuance of the contract.
Okay, and a second. Naima, thank you for the second. Okay, any discussion?
Well, I just like people to know, and her name keeps coming up, and she's part of Toluca, but Preeti is, I think, become part of the El Segundo culture here of construction and management. And, you know, in my couple of opportunities I've had with her, she's made really great explanations and kept an eye on our construction. And that's what this company does. And if you look at the original audit, and I think it's maybe a couple of board meetings ago, she was a part of that audit, and now she's a part of the review board tonight that Mr. Baldino presented to us. And she's facilitating all that. And the numbers that I'm getting back on contingencies, on change orders, and reviewing all that, you know, Preeti's a part of that, and her company is. And the fluidity of the ability to hire and to release staff as we need it gives us a great opportunity to not have to find those people and do those things to manage these projects. So, you know, I think for the public's sake, and they may not fully understand, but in those dynamics, we're saving a lot of money by not having to do it ourselves in that sense. And so, you know, I'm appreciative of what I've received so far. And so thank you very much for that. And, you know, those reports that I'm getting on that. So.
Other comments?
I was just thinking, you know, as we're talking about reopening and moving forward still, I think it might be important that we do a little small presentation maybe on how sites are, you know, the middle school, you know, their whole office got redone, the front of the high school got done. I think people might be wondering, how are we going to bring kids back? And, you know, I think Teleq is on it. I think Preeti watches and she starts hearing what we're doing, and I think in her head tonight, she's already like, 6th grade, I got to make sure middle school's ready. I'm sure she's already had that thought tonight, but I think that might be something that we put a little thing together, just, you know, maybe showing pictures in the community that we can do this. And Teleq, I do definitely agree with Mike. You know, the having people that do this for a living, take on these projects is important. Asking our staff again to try to do that, and I do like that we can ramp up when we've got a lot going, and then ramp down without, you know, the releases and notices and things that if they were our staff. So I think this is a great option.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? I'll just add that I remember when we were first presented with the Teleq contract, and I was like, "Oh, that's a lot of money. What are we doing?" it has more than paid for itself. Like the expertise that we have, and again, like having, this is what they do, their experience and many opportunities that Preeti has brought, like we can save money doing it this way, or we can do it this way, and it's been I think a godsend to have like that expertise literally as part of our staff for this. So I will say money well spent for sure. So with that, I believe we can vote. So Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Naima?
Aye.
Paulette?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
I will also vote aye. Motion carries. Item G, the approval of single plan or plans, I guess in this case, for student achievement. Dr. Moore.
Yes, on an annual basis, each of our comprehensive campuses come up with a plan, and the plan outlines current levels of achievement as well as the best next steps for that school. And this is done in collaboration with our parent stakeholders who serve on school site councils at each of the schools. So they play a very valuable role. Once again, this is an opportunity for transparency that we bring these to the board, and it is all in alignment with our local control accountability plan process. I recommend approval.
Okay. Thank you. If I can get a motion from a board member. Naima, and a second. And that's from Emily. Thank you. Is there any discussion or comments on these items?
You know, I'm just going to put it out for items G through K. It was a couple weeks ago. I got a warning from our board president that it's a heavy read. And so I hunkered down on a Sunday and went through, and then poor Dr. Moore got a email from me, and I was all over the place with this one and that one. I hope she deciphered. She wrote me back. She did, but I don't want to talk about each one individually, but I can tell you that, you know, I've read through them. There were a couple little corrections, but not as to content. When I was looking through, is more of, you know, maybe wording, or maybe we could say this better, or, you know, this was in this plan, what about this plan? So I thank the administrators. These are, again, these things that people just do not understand how much time goes into to making these plans, and they are regulatory. It's not like, oh, kudos to us for coming up with this, but we are doing the things that we are asked to, and I think that is important to look at. And thank goodness we only have to do this once a year, because it's a lot of reading. But thank you to everyone that keeps us in good standing with all the regulations that we have to do. And there's always work. You know, I'll let people know you know, there's a couple matrix that I wasn't happy with, and you know, I shot those to Dr. Moore of, okay, what's our plan here? You know, because we break them up by math and language to arts to demographics to, you know, all types of things, and you know, it's all there. There's nothing we're hiding, but I do think there are some things we're doing amazing, but there are some things that I shot to Dr. Moore on, you know, that we need to look at.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Any other comments or questions? Naima?
Just briefly, I want to say this is where you see where it really takes a village when you're looking at these reports, and Emily's right, there was a lot of reading that went behind this, but the beauty in it was that you got to see groups like our school site council members, and they were all listed out, and you saw the work that went behind all of this, and just the level of detail and attention. And so for that, you know, I was extremely grateful in reading and having a personal experience with each of the sites. And I think that's important, because for some, if you have kids at some school and not others, reading through these reports allows you to get a full comprehensive understanding of what's going on. And for that, I just want to say I'm grateful to have the experience to read through it and to understand it. And yes, it took a lot of time, but it gave me a greater appreciation.
All right, thank you. And yes, if anybody out there watching wants to read them, they are posted here, and they do have lots of great information. So So please do use our website here, our links to read all these great things. All right. I think we're ready to vote. Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Naima?
Aye.
Paulette?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
I will also vote aye. 5-0, the motion carries. The next item, item H, approval of comprehensive school safety plans for 2020-2021. Dr. Moore?
Yes, once again, the school safety plan is developed in line with the school safety committees and school site council. In addition, you'll note on the plans that El Segundo Police Department and often the fire department also take a look at the plans as it relates to school safety. The plans do incorporate standard criteria that are required to be addressed per state regulations. So you will see uniformity to some degree in all plans. Each plan applies these components to their individual site circumstances. I do want to note for the public that 2 slight revisions were posted today for Center Street and Richmond Street to address just a minor change in the area of dress code. So that was done and collaboration with the principals. So we feel good about that, and I recommend approval.
Okay, if I can have a motion for approval. Naima, thank you. And a second. Mike, thank you for that. Any discussion or conversation?
I just like to say, you know, these are really comprehensive, and as Dr. Moore mentioned, I think what's great about them, and if you go through each plan, and this is also for the school achievement plans too, while they are this uniform set of mandatory standard practice and common practices in regards to, because like in the safety plan, you have you know, mandatory for us as teachers, you know, we're mandatory reporters. And so we have all these guidelines and these legal lees in there, but they're tailored to the specific dynamics of each school. And it's amazing to read through them. And it's a great feeling to know that the administrators at each school really know their school's culture, the community, and to see that through these documents is something that I just wanted to mention is, you know, you don't get it unless you take the full breadth of it and look at them all side by side and you dissect them like I think we have. But you know, it's great to know that the administrators are in tune with each of their school communities, and it shows a lot of comprehensive thought in addressing all the things that are required by the schools legally. So both in the academic progress of our students and their safety. So just well done on both accounts, on both items. So.
Any other comments or discussion? Yeah, I agree that so many scenarios are thought out very thoroughly and right there on paper so that we know what to do when things happen. It's great to have that information available. Okay, with no further discussion, let's vote. Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Naima?
Aye.
Paulette?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
All right, and I'll also vote aye. Motion carries 5-0. Item I, approval of revision to board policy on vision, board policy 0000. Dr. Moore.
Yes, the next 3 items we specifically posted as information pending action. These are recommended revisions based on California School Boards Association, which we are a member. I collected feedback from all board members as well as reviewed all policies myself once again and made some minor adjustments. The revised item that is posted in each one of these instances has, I've only put the new revision items in bold for your review. So these are overarching really at the board level to give you guidance and frameworks to work within that capture recommended practices for school boards.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion for approval. Oh, I think Daima is going to get that one. Mike, I'll give you the second. Awesome. Any discussion on this item?
Yeah, Dr. Moore mentioned it, in the language of the vision, there was one word that really stuck out with me, and it's that overarching, and I think, that being added just changes the vision just enough for us in regards to this, and how we as a board need to see it, and how the public needs to see how we see the topics that we're discussing, and so some of the language changes have been really beneficial in really establishing, that we are the policy makers and not the, not down in the mire down there, in the daily, we leave that to the professionals in the sense of their roles, and that we are here really to hear the community and oversee things and oversee the direction of this district. And so, I think the language that got used was really good in providing that framework for us.
Okay, Daima, did you have a comment?
I do. So in looking at the vision, I really would like everyone to look at, when they have a chance, the second line, which it says, a foundation for continuous improvement. And then it says, and accountability. And why that is so important is because in saying the foundation for continuous improvement, we're saying, we have room for growth. We acknowledge that and we accept that, and we're always striving to be better. And I think that that is really important to acknowledge. But on top of that, should just list accountability says openly that we take responsibility. And that's something that I think everyone needs to look at as well. What we realized in this year, the year of a pandemic, is that we may not know what's coming, but we're always willing to grow with the times, and we're going to accept responsibility and continuously move forward. And that's what we have done, and that's what we are doing. So I just wanted to point that out. So I appreciate that being in there.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right, seeing none, let's vote. Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Mike, your vote?
Aye.
And Daima?
Aye.
Paulette?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
I will also vote aye. Motion carries 5-0. Item J, approval of revision to board policy on philosophy, board policy 0100. I think Dr. Moore already set that up nicely for us. So if I could have a motion for approval. Oh, I'm gonna say it's close, but I'm gonna go Daima on the first. Paulette, if I'll give you the second, that would be great. Thank you. Any discussion on this item? No. Okay, let's vote. Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Daima.
Aye.
Paulette.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
I'll also vote aye. The motion carries 5-0. And last but not least, item K, approval of revision to board policy on relations between other governmental agencies and the schools, board policy 1400. No further setup is needed on that. So if I could have a motion for approval. Oh, come on.
Aye. I motion to approve. Okay.
Thank you, Mike. And Paulette is ready for her second. So thank you for that. It's like feast or famine sometimes. That's okay. Okay, any discussion needed on this item?
As a member of the, city school subcommittee and even just how El Segundo works, I think this is good. I think it's always important to look at it and to find ways to partner and to put it out there that we're ready to partner. In so many ways, it's a win-win. But I do also, over the years, it's kind of always been like, oh, El Segundo just uses, or the district uses other entities. But I do want to make sure that people understand that, we also have been good partners for other people. People use our facilities, and we've opened our various things to different, to the city, to business. So I think, it goes both ways. And I think we could not be what we are without our business partners and community partners and things. So I think it's great. I hopefully, we have our school subcommittee meeting coming up soon. I think Dr. Moore, I saw the email where you're asking, things. I think, we could put this out at that meeting and just let them know that, it means so much that the board just recently looked over this and is putting that out again.
Great. Any other comments or discussion? All right. Let's move into voting then. Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Naima?
Aye.
Paulette?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
I will vote aye as well. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, moving into information pending action. Consideration of the 2021 CSBA Delegate Assembly ballot. Dr. Moore, tell us about that.
Yes, this ballot is part of our membership with School Boards Association. So although there are 6 candidates and 6 opportunities to vote, it has typically been a tradition of the board to select only those candidates they're the most comfortable with. So you should not feel any obligation to vote for every person because 6 places, 6, that is up to the board. So this is for your preview this evening and your consideration, and it would be brought back to the first meeting in March for the board to decide who they would like to vote for, and then we will sign and submit the ballot based on that input.
Dr. Moore, I forgot to ask you this, and I don't know, does the CSBA put out biographies on the candidates or anything like that that we could look up?
Typically, they are attached. So if you click on the item,
they're
they
there?
do have a biographical sketch. So there's,
Okay.
If you continue to scroll.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Go ahead, Paulette.
Yeah, I'm a little unclear. I mean, I've got my candidates, but I mean, are we just gonna, at this section of the board meeting, we'll all just say who we want? Or are we supposed to send it in at another time, or I'm not sure. Is this happening at a board meeting where we pick people?
Yes, we would bring this back to March 9th as an action item, Member Caudell. And then the board president would facilitate who would the board like to nominate, and then the board would actively make motions on who they would like to nominate. And then you would seek consensus and give the staff direction.
We'll have like a verbal ballot sort of thing that happens at that meeting for each of the candidates. So do your research, come back prepared to vote at that meeting.
This is we send one in for El Segundo. Paulette.
Correct.
So
yes.
So we all come together and then we send one out.
One. And Vice President Lane is the member of our LACSA group. Of course, she just assumed this responsibility, so I don't know that because everything's virtual that she's had an opportunity to meet any of these people.
No, I haven't. It's all Zoom, and it's interesting over Zoom. It's just like like 3 galleries of people, and much like we complain about our students, their cameras are off. So but I do, in past practices, we have looked a lot at the districts that they're coming from, and if they share the same things that we have in common, so that they can represent us. So that's kind of been our past practice. I know I'll look in the next little bit. I'll be ready next meeting, and I was thinking I'll call Bill or Jeannie, who served on this for a long time, and see if they have any thoughts after knowing those people. So I'll come back, but I do encourage everyone, just read over it real quick and just see if you have any thoughts.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Now the informational calendar. Dr. Moore.
I just want to call to your attention that we have a parent education program that'll be taking place on February 25th. Dr. Mo Gelbert, in cooperation with South Bay Families Connected, as well as our PTA Council will be sponsoring this event, and it is at 6 o'clock via Zoom. There's also a follow-up night and topic on March 25th and a third topic in April.
Okay, and we do have a non-student day coming up. Is that right? March 5th?
Yes, March 5th.
Okay, yes, I was thinking about that, looking ahead between now and the next meeting. So, all right, great, thank you for that. Now we'll move into board members report time, and we will start with Mr. Wagner. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Somebody has to do that in every meeting, so you know you took it this time. It's cool.
So in the past couple of weeks, I have had the opportunity to attend the SCROC board and represent El Segundo. And I want you all to know that Nancy Cobb was overwhelmingly voted in as our member at large. So she'll be able to continue that work. And it's great to have her there and her institutional knowledge of SCROC. And so it's a really great opportunity for us as a community in El Segundo, because I think between myself and the board and now Nancy, SCROC is a really viable program that I think a lot of our students could benefit from in and as an alternative to their educational process. So, you know, both ways it offers a really lot of programming for our students. It's really great. And the JPA agreements are going to be coming back up for this year. So it's something just to put on our radar that we're going to need to look at again. And we are all fiscally caught up in regards to the pay to play amounts that we owe SCROC, so there shouldn't be any financial requests from them in regards to that. We did our due diligence in paying them for our kids' programming, so is what I've been told. So hopefully I'm not misconveying that to you guys and it ends up in a bill or something, you know. But and then in regards to the high school, I want to say thank you to Dr. Gooden, who gave me a nice formatted letter, and just to give you some informational stuff that's going on. The class of well, that's coming up, yeah, on the 25th and 26th. The class of 2022 question and answer sessions on Naviance is coming out, and then counselor registrations are going to visit 9th grade classes, ELA classes. And then counselors are going to visit 10th grade ELA classes, and there's a staff in-service, and you mentioned this already, on the 5th. And then that means for the general population at the high school, class registrations are coming up. So parents, be aware of that those registrations are going to be coming up. And then AP exam dates, they're going to be, there's a detailed email that's going to be coming out, so keep looking for that. And then for the seniors, there was a last call for something to do with the diploma legal name. So as we're gearing up at the end, all that stuff needs to be worked out. And the PTA at the high school is looking and needs officers for the PTA. So if it's something that you feel you can contribute to, I'd ask members of our community to, and if you do, or you have an up and coming student at the high school, it might even be better to join now, and you can spend many, many years helping the PTA at the high school. And then there's a PTA study hut fundraiser coming up, so please look for that. And then there's some SAT, ACT crash courses for the students. And I know sophomores and juniors, you guys are going to be looking for that kind of stuff. So, and then even though we like to emphasize this just generally is you know, even though it's virtual, your attendance matters, and you know, so try to make, you know, we're trying to get those kids engaged, and I know it's rough right now because you're just going through the motions, but keep reminding that school is real, even though it's virtual, and that kids need to attend, and the teachers are doing all they can to keep continuity for them. And then just a last parting thing, if I could, and I'm sorry I'm taking up so much time. I'd like to address just a few items in regards to us and going back to school, and hope that the public and the people that are listening could understand that, you know, right now we're constrained by the LA County Department of Health and their guidelines, and they aren't currently aligned with the state. And we're maneuvering best we can to ensure that we're going back to school as quickly as we can, but that, despite those numbers that everybody's mentioned, tonight and getting into that red tier, it's not going to happen overnight once we hit the red tier. And, and there's a lot of considerations that have to be made in that, and I think for those people that are concerned that are teachers, our ESTA is not LA Unified's, while they're connected in regards to the state, they're a separate union, and they negotiate on their own behalf, and they have and are working with our administration at the district level to make sure that our students are going back to school. And when you can, please, give them your support. And like everyone has individual health concerns and those things. And as long as we all understand that we need to continue to honor those things for the individuals that have them, the teachers union in our district is working together to get our kids back to school. And I think as a teacher, I can tell you this, we are aware that we are returning. There's an inevitable coming that we are going to go back to school, and we got to get back to it. And so I think there's this misconception as a district that maybe we're not pushing, but I can tell you this, and I want to applaud Dr. Moore in these instances where I have pushed as a board member. Are you pushing at your end? And she has given me the information back that shows me she's already addressed it on some instances, and she's ahead of the curve on some instances. And so when we're talking about getting our students back, this is an ongoing effort from everybody involved. And I can assure you from my perspective that when I'm asking those questions, they're being answered immediately. And it means that they've already been addressed at another level, and or they're waiting. And if I get this, hey, I'm waiting for information, but I've already asked the question, it means we're ahead of the curve also. So, I just want to assure everybody that, we are working diligently. We are getting a lot of different information, but our hands are really tied when it comes to the constraints that are between our local, county, state, and federal. There's a lot of mismatches right now. And so hopefully in the next few days, we'll get some clarity on those things so we can react better. But know that your district is doing everything it can, is very apparent by the presentations tonight. All the hard work of the administrators, teachers, and for all the students that are going back, I'm really thankful that you're able to. And to the board, thank you tonight, and for all your hard work and questions and our meetings. I know there's a lot of information, and especially at this time. So thank you guys for your continued support and for your efforts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Dana, your turn.
Excellent. So I had the pleasure of attending a few meetings. I'm going to go over them. For Center Street, for the Center Street PTA meeting, I have to say the highlight of that meeting, and the one who stole the show, was Dr. Monahan. And that is because she announced the return of 3rd through 5th grade. And so that was really the cheer. Really 4th and 5th was really the cheer. And so that was really exciting news. Moving on, well, before I move on, for Center Street, just want to remind everyone that the next PTA meeting is March 17th. That's the upcoming meeting. Moving on to the El Segundo Council PTA. The highlight from there is that if you have Facebook, they have put up a new Facebook page. And what this does now is it allows us to bring all the units together in one page. So if you're trying to figure out what's happening for all the PTAs, instead of going to the individual units and trying to find out, we will hopefully have them all collectively on the council page. So I think that that's a major win if you want to know what's going on in the community, the various fundraisers and activities, really important. They also announced the slate for the council PTA. So that's the highlight there. Their next meeting is March 15th. And moving on, We have the Budgetary Advisory Committee. We did not have that meeting because we're waiting for the budget study, which is happening this week, in fact, tomorrow. So their next meeting will be on March 18th. And that's it for my updates, but I just want to say, on a personal note, I am extremely thankful to serve. I'm thankful to serve on the board. These times are, I would say, trying, they're interesting, and I don't think that there is a better time to step up. And I'm glad, and although it's not easy, I think that this really, it sets the path for how I will continue to serve. And I want to say that in serving and being thankful for this opportunity, I'm also thankful when I look at national news and I see our little South Bay, not our little South Bay, our mighty South Bay town or school district being represented on the news. When they talk about other districts and what they're not doing and other unions and this and that, and then in that same segment, when they talk about El Segundo and what we're doing and how we are making a way for our kids to go back. And it may seem small, but you know, again, it's what I said before, it's the small moments. And when I look up and I see that we have our superintendent there representing us, you know, it makes me smile because there aren't a lot of opportunities during a pandemic to smile. There's a lot of reasons that you can complain and grow tired and talk about what's not right. So again, when we have those small moments, it's important that we celebrate. I know we talk about mindset and we talk about the whole child and all the things that we talk about, we can practice that and we see it. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think we need to look forward to that. At least I can't tell you what to look forward to. I can tell you that I am looking forward. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. And having a child in 5th grade and knowing that he is going back on March 2nd brings me great joy. And I just, again, like I said before, I appreciate serving and I'm honored to be a parent and a member of our community, but a parent of a student within the El Segundo Unified School District. Thank you.
Thank you, Naima. Paulette, it's your turn.
All righty. I have an announcement to make. Cheryl Smith, the president of the El Segundo Middle School PTSA, wants me to be sure to tell everybody that they are having a fundraiser and they want everybody to go to Clones and Blimpies or /Blimpies and purchase things. Because they will make a donation to the middle school PTSA when you make purchases. When can you do this? Oh no, wait a minute. I got some just things. They want you to go to Cold Stones and mention El Segundo Middle School when you order. And when you order in person, mention El Segundo Middle School at the counter. And if you order online, you want to mention El Segundo Middle School in the comment field. And then your order will, El Segundo Middle School PTSA will receive a donation every time someone orders. And so when is this? It's today, but the day isn't over. So rush out after this meeting and go to Cold Stones and Blippies and order something. And then all day, you have all day tomorrow, Wednesday, to spend money at Cold Stones. I know I'm going to be there. Hope to see you. And then again, it's a donation. It will be given to the El Segundo Middle School PTSA. And where? It's the Cold Stones on Grand and, wait a minute, Standard Street by the Chase Bank. And why? Because they need the funds for this. Oh no, the funds from this event will support upcoming teacher appreciation efforts. So, and we love that. So thank you so much and go to Cold Stones today and tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Paulette.
That's all, folks.
All right, we'll pass the baton to Emily now.
All right, last night was that LACSTA meeting, as Dr. Moore mentioned. They had a guest speaker talking on, you know, like all things education and politics. So she spent a lot of time just talking about all the bills that are at the legislature currently, talking about funding, talking about getting back to school, just talking about all kinds of things. And in short, there is nothing new. It's all just in the spinning cycle of legislature. She was mentioning, I think it was about 500 bills, but you know, some of them she was explaining are just placeholders to where it allows them to continue to talk and go forward on things. But so I think it's just something to watch. I think it's great that to know that at the state level that they are aware of COVID's effects, and you know, we'll see how that pans out. But I think that is something that we need to be watching. I'm, you know, again, I'm, as we've said over and over again, I am so excited to see more students coming back in different capacities. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm a little fixated on COVID numbers. I am one of those that I look at those charts, I look at the graphs, I am so curious. You know, I really don't like watching the news lately. I can't hear the spins, but I love the charts and I like to see the numbers. And I am very encouraged by the numbers. I hope everyone does their part still, but I do think that we are reaching that herd immunity and vaccination where we're finally going to get somewhere. And I think we have some exciting possibilities coming up. So I think, again, everyone needs to wrap their head around not giving up. I think a lot of places just kind of said, oh, another year's gone, and they're not prepared to be able to do the things that we're doing. So I thank our you know, our administrators and our district and our staff and our classified, our teachers, everyone for letting us be where we are. It's a little disheartening, but again, I shouldn't say disheartening. I understand parents' concerns and their frustrations. I completely understand them. But at the same time, I hope they look around and see where other districts are at and where El Segundo is at. And I think we do have something to be proud of where we're at. Is it where I want to be? No. I want all of our kids back. Full day, all day. In reality, is that possible right now? No. But for us to be where we are right now is just hands above where other surrounding districts are. So I think we deserve a kudos, and I don't think we're done yet. We have a lot of hard conversations and things to make happen. I think people need to understand that once numbers go down, it's not just that we're going to be back every day, all day, just like normal. There's still some precautions and safety protocols that we're going to have to meet and talk about. So it's going to take time and lots of effort by everyone. But we are getting there. We are getting there, and this year, unlike a lot of places. So thank you to everyone. That's it. I think. We've got school subcommittee tomorrow, and again, that is open to the public. If anybody wants to join our Zoom and hear how the city and the school, you know, it's really just a meeting where we say, hey, this is what we're going through. They let us know what they're going through and how can we help, or just, you know, it's just a good session to see where everyone's at. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Emily. All right, let's see, looking back at my calendar, the one meeting I want to report out on is last week's Facilities Advisory Committee meeting. Spent a lot of time talking about fun things that cost a lot, like roofs and HVAC units, and really talking about, you know, the realities of what needs to be replaced and when, and how grateful we are when we can actually pay for them. Which we can typically only do in a meaningful way, as opposed to, like, you know, duct tape and like catch basins and stuff. We can really only do this when we have bond money. They are big expenses. So thank you again to our voters that supported Measure ES in 2018, so that we can continue to maintain and replace important yet very expensive things like these items in our facilities. In other news, I continue to get the sense that some people don't understand that as a public entity, we are beholden to all kinds of public standards and regulations and codes, with responsibility and liability to uphold our role in the public sector. We can't just willy-nilly run off and do irresponsible things. We can't counter mandates that are ed code or public health orders. We just can't. That's where we are at. So we continue to read all those regulations, which are ever changing right now. We respond to them with thoughtful plans and continue to provide the most beneficial in-person services that we can in the safest way possible every step of the way that is continuing to evolve. So I do want to mention that on the sports front, the youth sports health order for LA County got revised last week, and we are watching that closely to allow for more freedom in athletics. I mean, in case you missed it, our high school cross country team was actually able to compete this past weekend. So that is the first team out of the gate. Yes, that's very exciting. But know that we in LA County are still under more restrictive guidelines than the state has issued at this time. So we'll keep watching it. We'll see if LA County trues up its next level of permissible sports to that under 14 case rate thing that the state has done, or if we have to keep waiting to get to that under 7 red tier to allow more things than we currently can. We are watching that so we can adapt appropriately. And like you've heard a couple times tonight on the classroom front, I am proud of how our district has continually evolved with changing health orders in this whole pandemic scenario. I think we have been much more nimble and proactive than a lot of other public school districts in the county and even in the country. I'm thankful that our staff and administrators who've spent countless hours developing protocols, acquiring PPE, setting up new schedules and ingress and egress plans and all of that. Everybody is learning to recreate their jobs in a whole new way, and it keeps evolving. And on top of it, it has this whole like pandemic anxiety hanging over it. That is real for everyone. So I just want to wrap up by saying that, you know, I'm grateful that our teachers union has been collaborative partners for all the ups and downs of this pandemic. They did not come out of the gate saying, we are not coming back to school this year. That is not here. That may be other local school districts. That is not here. Again, they were asked to flip the distance learning switch on a moment's notice last year, and they each put in the best effort they could immediately, and were amazing with helping each other and leading into the professional development that was provided. I mean, really, both of our unions, classified and our teachers union, have been part of the reopening conversations we've had every step of the way, knowing that our students benefit the most from in-person interactions with their teachers and their peers. And they've both been working with us to figure out how to do it safely every step of the way. So I just want to say I respect the decisions that individual families may have had to make along the way about how to best educate their children, their students. And I understand the frustration that some feel with the pandemic and the need to seek other paths. I completely get that. And the thing is, on the topic of frustration, I can't name one person who is not frustrated at some level or another in today's world. It's just, it's a shared thing. And I keep coming back to this phrase that it's unfortunate when our hopes and expectations do not match reality. But I know that Esusd is making the best decisions we can in this reality and taking the best action we can for our community in these times and really all the time. This board, the staff, everybody, I'm so thankful for their focus and hard work to do the best we can in every scenario. And I really want to thank our staff and our families that are working so hard every day as things change and continue to evolve. I too am glad I heard someone say light at the end of the tunnel. Yes, it's there. It is there. We are getting to that light at the end of the tunnel. And I hope that everyone in El Segundo continues following all the healthy practices so we can keep those numbers dropping. They're dropping at an awesome rate right now. Please, let's not jinx that. And let's all just keep making progress to safely return everyone to our campuses. And I think that's all I have to say at this time. So thank you for listening. Dr. Moore, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. And thank you, board, for acknowledging that we have been able to work in cooperation with our labor partners. It has been a journey to get here, and it has not been without fear and anxiety, but we have persevered and we continue to lift one another up and make decisions based on what's best for children. I did want to provide just a brief report regarding vaccinations to the board this evening, as we have gotten some inquiries in this area, and I'll be highlighting this in my communication to parents this week. Up until this point, Los Angeles County has had scarcity in the vaccine, and so the educators' opening for phase 1B was delayed, and so that has now been set at March 1st. It appears the guidelines have loosened up a little bit this week, and a number of staff have taken an active, proactive stance to get out there and get the vaccine on their own, driving far distances, whatever it takes to get there. In addition, the district has set up a partnership with Beach Cities Health District. And so I will be bringing an MOU for you to ratify at the next meeting. Although we had requested the MOU much earlier this month, unfortunately, as we are all working as fast as we can, they did not have it ready to go until today. So I did, in an emergency capacity, sign that MOU as I am authorized to do, so that next week, when these clinics are set up after school hours, that our employees will be eligible to attend those. But we are definitely advising our employees, don't wait. If there's a way you can get something faster, take advantage of that opportunity. And many, many are doing that. So I applaud those who have networked and found a way. So just another very positive trend that I wanted to be sure to share with you this evening. And finally, for our 7th through 12th grade families, I did want to say, you know, we've talked about this trend in the COVID cases, and with this continuing, we will be in the red tier, and the red tier is what will enable us to reopen for 7th through 12th grade. I think it's important that we are waiting clarification from the Department of Public Health regarding what will the requirements be about whether or not staff can be in multiple groups. This is really a significant point because, as you know, at our high school, we have 6 classes students attend, and we have 4 classes at the middle school. And the way that we're having to operate right now, teachers can only be with 2 stable cohorts of students. So it's problematic at secondary. We anticipate there will be some level of relaxation, but until we see it, it's hard to plan. So we've got a lot of what if scenarios that we are in the works. But certainly, as the superintendent of El Segundo Unified, I continue to advocate with state and county representatives for increased clarity and communication so that we can plan and be proactive to find that right date, perhaps in April, for 7th through 12th grade to return in some capacity based on whatever we have to work with. So I did want to provide that clarity. I will be also including that in my message to parents this week as well. So that concludes my remarks.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Moore. So this evening we do not need to recess to closed session. So with that, I can say we are adjourned at 7:22 p.m. Thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your week.